Hey everyone, this is Helena Hart. Welcome back to my Master Your Magnetism podcast. I'm talking with Matt Shaffer again today. He's an empowerment, relationship, and connection coach who's helped over 100,000 women find amazing, secure, lasting relationships. Welcome, Matt. Thank you for joining me again today.
Hi, Helena. It's so nice to be back. We're like celebrating our 5-year anniversary of jamming together. It's pretty cool.
Yes, we were just chatting before we started recording, and I said that your free course that we're going to talk about in this live stream today has been the number one free offer or course that I've ever recommended. And I always say, if you've been following me for 5 years, you know I've never changed my stance on this. And you're offering it again completely free starting February 17th. So we'll talk a little bit more about that during this live stream. I'm really excited about this topic today. When you sent over your idea for what you wanted to talk about, I was like, this is so juicy. And I am just so excited to dive in. We're going to be talking about 3 irresistible feminine moves that will make a man feel completely devoted to you. And I imagine this could apply whether you're single or in a relationship. Is that right?
Single, dating, relationship, whatever it is, like these ways of being and the actions tied to them. I'm going to give you a series of different moves for sort of each tip. Each one of these things that you're going to do are going to make you magnetic to men, are going to make you irresistible to men, not just in the short term, but in the long term, because these are things that truly men can't get enough of. So I'm speaking as a card carrying member of the club that cannot get enough of them.
That sounds amazing. And by the way, we're streaming this episode live on YouTube today. So say hi in the chat. If you're joining us live, let us know if you have any questions you have about this topic or really anything else. We'll get to as many as we can at the end. And if you're listening to this on my podcast on Spotify or Apple or anywhere else, and you'd like to see a video of this episode, a totally unedited raw video, which we love to do, that will be in the show notes. I'm also going to include a link to Matt's free course, which I just mentioned, Mastery of Connection, the #1 free course that we've been promoting for years. It's been, I think, at least 2 years since you've done this. So I was so excited to hear that you're offering this again. Do you want to talk briefly about that? And then, of course, we'll talk more about that at the end, but that will be the first link in the description. If you're listening on YouTube, just close the live chat, click the title of this video, and that'll be the first link in there if you want to join for free.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just real quick, Master Your Connection. This is my transformational flagship love course. I've been doing it for almost 5 years to tens of thousands of women all over the world. Women have gotten married. They've ended toxic relationships. They've began great relationships. And really, they've gotten a lot of personal growth, because the goal of this course is to transform your relationships with men and with yourself from the inside out. Truly. So we're going to be over the course of 3 weeks, starting on February 17th, we're going to be diving into your beliefs, your attachment style, your personality type, and how you relate to men and how to understand men through 15 video lessons and over 50 hours of live coaching with me and my team. So it's a great opportunity for you to really fundamentally transform the way you relate with other people and learn a lot about yourself and get all your questions answered. So it's going to be an amazing journey. We start again February 17th, but if you sign up early, I'm going to be doing a free bonus workshop for everybody the weekend before the course starts.
Amazing. So 100% free, no strings attached. It's not just free to apply. The entire course is free. So we'll talk more about that at the end. But let's dive into this topic, Matt. Is there anything you want to say before we get started? Or are we ready to just jump into that first secret you wanted to share here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we talk about irresistible feminine moves, you want to always be thinking in terms of polarity. You always want to be thinking of, how can I be an embodiment of feminine energy, of my authentic feminine energy that will be attractive to the masculine. They'll be attracted to the masculine energy that can see it and feel it and experience it, right? So a lot of the things we're going to be talking about today are aspects of feminine energy and feminine beingness that men either don't have in their own lives naturally or in their own way of being, and they're really feeling starved for it. So there's a lot of things that you can give us in relationship dynamics that are things that we don't get anywhere else in our lives. So just think of it that way, that we're sort of like puppies starving in the desert for this energy. And the more of it you give to us in an authentic, meaningful way, the more we're going to want to be around your energy and dive into deeper type of relationship with you.
That sounds amazing. And like we mentioned, this could apply no matter where you are in your love life. So what is that first feminine move that a woman can make? I'm so curious to hear what these are myself.
Yeah. So the first one, and this is just a big catch-all one that I have to like emphasize, because it's one of the biggest things I work with my clients on, is embrace vulnerable expression. Because vulnerability, truly, especially emotional and communicative vulnerability, is one of the most attractive things that we experience from you. Because for us, vulnerability can be very challenging, and it can make us feel very unsafe and scared. And so the thing you always want to remember, and this is a metaphor and a teaching device I use a lot, is you want to be the emotional and communicative conductor in your relationship. Like, men are going to be the physical drivers of the relationship, but it's your responsibility to model the type of vulnerability, the type of communication that you want to receive from men that you're dating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And this can be difficult, right? It's so easy to say, oh, just be vulnerable, just open up. But that can be hard, especially if maybe you've done that in the past and you've gotten hurt. It can be easy to put walls up. Men and women, I know, both do this. So what would you say to someone who has a tough time, even just baby stepping their way into doing something like that?
100%. And the first thing you need to remember, and this is a lot of women come to me and they say, well, men aren't being vulnerable with me, so why should I be vulnerable with them? Right.
Right.
And the important thing to recognize is that, like, we are culturally conditioned as men to not be vulnerable. It is ingrained in our DNA for many of us, culturally and societally, that if we are vulnerable, we are being weak and we are opening ourselves up to be manipulated. And we can't be vulnerable a lot of times in our work, in our relationships with men, because we have to be the protector, right? We have to be that sort of like hard-shelled being in so much of our life. So by you leading the way, by being vulnerable, and this, again, it doesn't have to be, you're not going to spill your deepest hopes and fears and traumas to a guy on the first date. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, take the initiative to speak about how you're feeling, how he makes you feel. It feels, I feel so safe when you hold the door to the car on our dates. You know, like I feel really appreciated when you touch me like that. Like, just like little things where you're putting words on your feelings. That's modeling the type of vulnerability that you want to experience from him, right? So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, and again, what does a conductor do? A conductor invites the symphony to raise the tempo. I'm a musician, so it's like I like to speak in terms of music, you know. He's inviting through the way he's operating. One of the ways you can invite a man into vulnerability, not just through modeling it yourself, is to ask him questions. Ask him how that felt, because men have a tendency to speak very linearly about a sequence of events. They'll be like, well, how was your day, honey? Oh, I went to work. This happened. This manager said this. It really pissed me off, you know, and then I went and did this and did this and did this. Like, oh my gosh. So, well, how did that make you feel? Like, you said it pissed you off, but like, how did you feel when like he said that to you? And then, you know, like, what did you do to respond to that? And whatever, like, dive deeper, ask him feeling questions. And that's basically giving him permission to talk about how he feels, because the story most men have, and I'm speaking for myself included, are no one cares how we feel. That our feelings don't matter. All that matters is what we're doing, what we're providing. Are we being the protector? So most of our value that we've created for ourselves, especially in relationship, is around the product of our actions. So by you demonstrating that you care about how he feels, maybe for the first time ever, he's going to be like, wow, maybe this is actually a place where I can be vulnerable, you know? And that's something that's going to create a different type of relationship with you than he may have had with other women. You know what I'm saying? So I know it can be hard because you've got walls up from past relationships and everything else, but you gotta be willing to show up and take a risk on this. And then, you know, if it's not reciprocated, or if you feel fundamentally unsafe, or he starts using that vulnerability to manipulate you or whatever, then yeah, that's a great red flag that then allows you to end the relationship. You know what I'm saying? So vulnerability is it's a great thing no matter what.
Definitely. And I think a lot of men, obviously we're speaking in generalizations here, there's always exceptions to this, but a lot of men don't even have friends or family members in their life that they can really open up to, not just other women. So if you can be that one person in a man's life that he feels safe, he can be himself, he can open up, and he's accepted and appreciated, then you're just going to be irreplaceable. I'm just checking in with the chat. Wisteria says, that makes sense. It's indeed difficult For me, yeah, absolutely. This can be difficult. She says, I have to practice these types of situations as I've been independent for so long, used to doing all the problem solving. And she says, very good, as you were explaining that a little deeper. So, yeah, if you have trouble with this, for anyone listening, sign up for Matt's free course, because I'm sure you're going to go pretty in depth on exactly how to do this in a way that brings a man closer, right?
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. What Wisteria is dealing with is a very, very common situation where a woman has an experience with a man or men, sometimes dating back to their father, a lot of times, where they create a story that men are unsafe. So therefore, they have to embody. They say, well, if I can't trust a man to create safety for me, then I'm going to create the masculine and feminine energy in my relationship, and I'm going to create safety for myself. So that's what she was saying. Like, I have to do it all myself. I have to be independent, right? And we're not designed to produce, to source for ourselves all the masculine and all the feminine energy in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't allow myself to be in connection with women, even when I'm not in relationship, just in terms of feminine friendship, I end up getting locked into a hyper masculine routine of always, just getting locked into work addiction, and caught in doing mode. So I get to consciously embrace being in relationship, like friendship with women, and also like embodying feminine energy in different ways. So I feed myself that energy. So don't think you have to do it all yourself. And in this course, we're going to be helping you unlock how to put down that masculine wall that you've created for yourself to create safety for yourself, and to allow yourself to open up to men in a way that they can receive you. Because trust me when I say, if you show up to a man that you're looking to get to know, walls up and guns out, swearing that you're never going to be hurt again because men aren't safe, there's nowhere for a man to meet you in that. There's nowhere for a man to feel safe and connected to you in that. So you're going to be disqualifying any guy that might really want to get to know you. And then you're going to get to be right about the fact that, men don't want to be with you and then men aren't safe. So that's how our beliefs prove themselves, So that's why we got to shift our beliefs. And that's what we're going to be doing in week 1.
Yeah, definitely. She says, yes, that's true. So thank you so much for that comment. I know so many people can relate to that, right? Men and women, but I hear from so many women. My podcast audience and my audience here on YouTube is mostly women, and it's just something that we all struggle with from time to time, myself included. So I'm so glad to be starting with this one. Is there anything else you want to say here? Should we move on to that second feminine move that
let's move on to the second one, because it's going to be building off of the first one, right? So the second tip, the second move that you want to always embody as often as you can is to use your feminine energy in various different ways to create a safe space for him, energetically, emotionally, physically. There's so many different ways you can do this, but the thing you really have to get at the forefront of this is that your feminine energy, a lot of times men, we don't feel safe in the world. We feel like we have to be the ones constantly fighting to create safety for ourselves, for our loved ones. And because of that, we have to wear this armor and this shield, and we have to constantly be the protectors, right, from the scariness of the world, right? So we never get a chance to just feel safe within ourselves. And we usually don't get it with our families. We usually don't get it with our friends, because we have to put on this show that we're this masculine, whatever. But in your energy, in the way that you show up to a man on a date, in a relationship, in the bedroom, in a conversation, wherever it is, you can be this incredibly valuable and potent source of energetic and emotional safety for him. You can be his emotional sanctuary. And there's no greater way to create and establish loyalty and devotion with a man than for him to start to see you as his emotional sanctuary. And that's like one of the core things that I support, women in inviting men into.
It's so true. Sorry if you can hear my son and husband in the background. I hope my mic's not getting that picked up. Just got back from the park. So anyway, yeah, it's so true. I always say physical attraction can only get you so far with a man, right? That's not what ultimately inspires this deep sort of lasting devotion and commitment. It's creating this emotional sanctuary, like you said. And again, that can be difficult too. What are some first steps a woman can do to start to make some moves toward that? I think that's so important.
There's so many different ways to do this. And so when we're talking about like physical but non-contact type moves, like one of the most powerful things you can do is really practice active listening and connection. So one thing that really melts me and a lot of guys I know is deep presence. So basically like demonstrating true interest and presence in what he's saying. And that looks like eye contact. That looks like leaning in. That looks like demonstrating non-verbally that you are truly interested and connected with what he has to say. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll never forget, I was on a date with a woman in Portland that I ended up falling madly in love with. And one of the things that she did that was just like absolutely magnetic to me was when I was talking, she looked at me like I was the only thing in the entire planet. And I felt this like butterfly sort of like ignition within me when she did that. And I told her like later on in that first date, because I was absolutely hypnotized by like the depth of her presence, that it felt like I was in front of like a campfire of feminine energy, that I just wanted to like a fireplace, that I just wanted to warm. Like it made me want to be closer to her. It made me like want to draw in nearer to her, you know? And it's just one of those things where the more you can be just like truly, genuinely interested and present to him, like that's going to be really, 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 really attractive to him. And he's going to want more of that.
Yeah, it can be so easy just to go right up into our heads, especially when we really like a guy and we're not doing it on purpose. We're not trying to close off a lot of times, but especially if we're finally on a date or with someone that we feel attraction and chemistry with, it can be easy just to go, okay, what's he thinking? Does he like me? What should I say next? Okay, he's talking about this vacation he took. All right, I'm going to say this next about my last vacation. And we're actually cut off from our feminine energy when we do that. We're kind of like from the neck up, just thinking and strategizing and planning what we're going to say next. And it comes from a good place. We want him to be having a good time. We're trying to connect with him. And that often creates like a mental connection, but not a deep emotional connection, which I think is less about the content of what you say and more just about the moment and being present, like you said. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, I have to chime in on that one, because like never is it more true than with men that quote, I'm trying to think, people don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. Like never is that more appropriate than in the way that men and women relate to men, right? Because we're in our freaking heads all day, every day with like everything that we're worried about and thinking about and concerned about. Like we're constantly in our heads. And the greatest superpower the feminine has with the masculine is getting us out of our heads and into our hearts, getting us out of our heads and into our body. So the way that you show up and the way that you make him feel on a date by who you are being and how you are engaging with him is going to make you so much more powerful and memorable to him than any words that you say, especially in the beginning and get to know somebody or over time. You know what I'm saying? So if you're continually asking yourself, am I being an activating feminine energy that's creating safety for him? Am I demonstrating genuine interest? And am I inviting him into vulnerability with me? Am I showing him that vulnerability is safe, that he doesn't have to be a superhero around me all the time, that I'm not going to define him or evaluate him only because of how much he makes or what he's doing in the world. I'm not saying don't acknowledge men for what they're doing in the world. That's actually another really nourishing thing you can do in this tip that I'm talking about, but don't define him by that. Like one of the things that you want to do as far as like using feminine energy to create safety for him is deep compliments of appreciation, not just about what he does, because that is important, right? I loved and appreciated so much that you took out the garbage without me having to ask. You've been in a relationship for a long time like that. I really appreciate that. But just the fact, like just acknowledging a character trait about him. Like I really, really love how much attention you pay to the details when we go out on a date. Like you always pick a restaurant that you know is perfect for, you know, my dietary restrictions and pull out the chair for me. And, you know, like this, every little thing is always taken care of. And then I just get to shut off and just be with you. And I can't tell you how much that means to me, you know, the way you're detail oriented. And I have a suspicion, Helena, that your husband, Mr. Engineer, muscle man of the universe, right? I get the feeling he's a very detail oriented, very thoughtful partner, isn't he?
Oh my gosh. Yes, that is like understatement of the century. Yeah, so thoughtful, very detail oriented in everything that he does. We were just on a little date night last night, which we honestly don't get to do very much. And just him taking care of it and planning it and everything. gave me butterflies, like we were just dating again, you know? And it's so, those moments are so rare these days with a young child, but it really is like, I can even like conjure that feeling up in my body right now. It's the best feeling ever. And we're not saying here that you're not, like, I just wanted to mention that it's not about taking some guy who's hot and cold and who's not thoughtful and not respectful and trying to like make him devoted to you or make him step up. That's not what this is about, right? I think it's just important to mention that. So this is for with a man who's shown you that he's trustworthy and he's a good guy, or you're getting to know him and he seems to be a good guy. This isn't about trying to change how he's showing up if he's not doing this already, right?
No, and you got to remember, like, your body, especially once you've done inner work, like doing the course that we're going to be doing next month, right? Your body is a divine antenna. Your body is continually giving you energetic and emotional feedback about your environment and about the people that you're connecting with. So if a man that you are around, again, once you've done your work and you're aware of your triggers and stuff, like, and you know you're not projecting, right? If you're around a guy or a partner or a guy that you're getting to know and you just continually don't feel safe, don't feel clear about who he is or what his intentions are, and you just don't feel safe around him, you feel exhausted or anxious during or after hanging out with him, if that is a continual state of being that you are experiencing during or after being with a dude, that guy, trust that. Trust that. Like, don't sit here and be like, oh, well, you know, this is probably just, don't write it off as your trauma. If you're working on your stuff and you're aware of your stuff and you're actively dealing with it and you're still feeling that way, you got to remember, a man's character is determined through his consistent behavior over time and through his consistent energy over time. You know, just because he shows up great one day or not so great one day, don't define him by either one of those. But if consistently he's showing up in a way that's creating a lack of safety for you in anywhere, in any sort of way, don't sit here and try to be like, oh, well, maybe I need to just like martyr myself and, you know, do whatever I got to do to try to make him feel safe. No, don't do that. The right guy will not need you to sacrifice or compromise on who you are to be in relationship with him. That's you trying to force a square peg into a round hole. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I wanted to mention that right up front, but something you said in your last statement sparked that, like, oh, we should let people know, because I get comments sometimes like, this guy was showing up hot and cold. He was distant. I tried these tips and it didn't work. And it's like, well, we don't want these to work on a narcissist or on some guy who's not showing up for you consistently from the beginning. So I think
what we need to do, Helena, what we need to do with all these videos up front, just to make sure we offset that, because I don't want women to, we'll do a douchebag disclaimer at the beginning of at the beginning of all of our videos. Like, these videos are assuming that he does not fall into the following douche categories.
Yeah, love it. Loving all these comments too. Everyone saying loving this conversation, and thank you so much for everyone in the comments. So is there anything else you want to say on this one, or should we move into
there's one last thing I want to address on this that's sort of similar to the words of affirmation and you know, compliments and stuff, is one of the ways that women unconsciously or accidentally decrease safety with men is when they fall into a loop of being like very critical and drawing boundaries through telling him what not to do, by complaining about, you know, you never give me compliments anymore. You know, what the hell? Or like, this is like, I'm so frustrated with the fact that you haven't been making time for me. Like, this is so annoying. Like when women get into a loop, and again, they're in that loop for justifiable reason. And again, he's not showing up. He's not doing something or being some way that you need to feel nourished, right? Emotionally, energetically, whatever. I get it. But the more you fall into the loop of barking at him for the things he's not doing, or hammering on him for the way he's not showing up, the more he starts to feel a lot of times like he's not enough, or like there's something wrong with him. And that can cause a man to slowly pull away from you in relationship, because he doesn't feel safe, because you're kind of becoming like his mother to a degree. Because a lot of times moms gave us feedback as a kid, you know, in the sense of like, go clean your room, stop doing that, stop doing, like we were getting barked at, a lot of us, our whole childhood, right? So you don't want to become his mother energetically and emotionally. So I always invite women to move as much as possible from, you know, like negative boundaries to constructive, positive boundaries. You know, instead of saying like, you never make time for me anymore, like, be like, I love spending time with you. And I've been craving sharing more experiences with you over the last like couple weeks or so. What do you say about going out on an awesome date, or creating like a date night on like
Mhm.
Friday night so we can spend quality time together? Because like I just love being around you and I love going on adventures with you. You see how that would feel different to a guy? A guy's going to be a lot more like excited to do things with you and for you when you approach him from an invitational, constructive, positive reinforcement way than by a negative, you need to stop doing that way, right? You don't want him to do things with you and for you because he feels like he has to. You want him to do things with you and for you because he knows that you want that and he wants to make you happy. Do you see the energetic difference there?
Mhm. Definitely. We've talked about that in previous episodes. I think a
Oh, yeah.
recent video on my YouTube channel, 4 powerful secrets to make a man fall in love, something like that. We talked about the fact that boundaries can actually be a really positive thing that men love. It's like giving them a roadmap into what would make you happy, not just like a punitive thing where you're telling him all these things that you don't like that he's doing, right?
Exactly. We love instructions. We love we love boundaries that are expressed in do X, Y, and Z to make me happy. That way we're not fumbling around in the dark trying to figure
Mhm.
it out ourselves and, making mistakes and then, like feeling frustrated or exhausted or whatever. Like the more you can give us a roadmap, just in life, in the bedroom, whatever, like be specific about what you want and what you like. The more specific you are, the more empowered we feel to do it. Again,
Mhm.
this is assuming that this guy wants to make you happy and he's invested in you and he's not one of, 16 categories of douche that,
Mhm.
are out there that, you get
Yeah.
to search for.
Love it. These comments are so great too. Thank you so much, everyone. Clementine says, because of your advice, my relationship is on a healthy, steady pace towards marriage, and he's my dream man. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for everything you too do. It's invaluable. You're so
Mhm.
welcome. Just wanted to put that up there. I see some other comments that we'll get to at the end. But Matt, what else do you have to say on this topic? Should we move into that third move here?
Let's move into the third one. That's
Okay.
basically it. The question you just want to ask is, am I cultivating safety with him or am I undermining safety with him? Like, is he going to feel more empowered by the way that I'm consistently showing up and more safe to be who he is and to express and to show up for me? Or is he going to be feeling not enough? Is he going to be feeling unsafe to share and to show up with me based upon how I'm showing up? That's like the more safety you can create with him, the more he's going to be wanting to be around you.
Love it. I think that's great.
Mhm.
Maya says my 2 favorite coaches. That's phenomenal. And what else? Like, I would love to just keep going here. I don't know how much time you have, Matt, but what do you
Mhm.
think? Should we just keep going with the
Yeah.
content here? Should we take some comments and questions?
Yeah. I mean, the last one, I got one more, the
Move
last
on to
one,
the
the
last
third
one.
one is basically to consciously embody playfulness and mystery with him, like as often as possible, because you get to be the loving interruption to the heaviness and routine and ritual and monotony and repetitiveness of his daily life, because men are fundamentally habit driven creatures that are constantly grinding away on whatever it is that's helping us build to whatever we're looking to create in the world. If you have a guy who's ambitious and goal driven and like has his stuff together, which hopefully he's not sitting on the couch doing bong rips and playing Pokemon. Hopefully you got a guy who's up to something in the world. If not, that's something to look at. You know what I'm saying? But like the more you embody playfulness and mystery, the more you're going to keep him curious, you're going to keep him engaged, and you're going to invite him into play. Because one thing that men really have is a play drive. We have a desire to play. It may be buried deep because we've been covered it with layers and layers of responsibility and heaviness. But at some level, we want to play. That's why we have hobbies that involve play. We like to watch men play sports because that's like an indirect outlet for our play, right? Because at a deep level, every man has a little boy within him who desperately wants to play. He wants to screw around. He wants to have fun and just be spontaneous, right? But if you can invite and activate that within a guy, or invite him to share it and co-create it with you, that is so it is so hot and so exciting for us. And it's really going to help him, want to be around you and want to build into deeper relationship with you.
I think that's great. Joy Rochelle in the chat says, "Ooh, how does a woman embody mystery? Tell us more." And you read my mind. I was just going to ask you that exact same question. I think this is such a good one. I'd love to hear anything else about how a
Absolutely.
woman can start to do this.
So for example, like say that, he's at work or he's whatever, just telling him, I got a little surprise waiting for you when you get home. And he's gonna be like, what is it? What is it? Tell me more. And he'll be like, just something fun. You're gonna have to wait and see. And then he gets home and you're wearing lingerie, or you've like made him like a fun little treat or whatever, like his favorite treat or whatever, or it's just something unexpected. And just giving him hints and tips like, hey, I want to do something different tonight. And then what do you want to do? And then just basically being like, you're just going to have to wait and see, like just keeping him guessing about what it is or what it is that you want to do. It's very, very fun. Unexpected little playful, spontaneous things like leaving notes. Like I've had partners in the past that would leave sweet little Post-it notes on my computer monitor about, what they love about me or how much they appreciate how hard I work or something sexy or whatever, and just little things like that. Like I held on to all those little notes, and I kept them, and I ended up like lining my monitor with them like during that relationship. And it was like this beautiful little patchwork of all the like little playful acknowledgments that she would give me, And another aspect of this, like playfulness and mystery, is being open to spontaneous adventures. So you can either invite him into spontaneous adventure, which is great, being like, yo, why don't we, instead of just going to dinner and a movie, like, why don't we go on like a road trip to like San Antonio this weekend? Like, why don't we go to freaking Six Flags or something, like just invite him, give him permission to take things out of the ordinary flow of stuff. Because a lot of times when we find one thing that makes you happy or that we like, we'll have a tendency to just keep going back to the well. You know what I'm saying? But the more you're like, why don't we do something different? Why don't we go to a freaking arcade this weekend? Like in my last like relationship, like that was a thing. Like once I found out that she was like down, that she like liked going to the arcade, that she liked going to theme parks and stuff, I was like, let's freaking do it, because those were things that like I really enjoyed, and it added a whole new level of like play and depth to our relationship. And then the other side of that, just to finish it up, is be open to going on adventures that are outside of your comfort zone. So maybe theme parks freak you out, maybe roller coasters freak you out, but by you being, if he invites you to go on an adventure and you're like, oh, I don't know about that, your willingness to go with him to a thing. Like I remember I was with a woman, and she was like, oh, I don't want to, watch a scary movie. And then I was like, okay, well, this movie is going to be scary. Like, can you hang? Like, can you do it? And she's like, okay, I'll go to the movie. It ended up being absolutely, it was a Smile 2. It was like the most gnarly movie, like the most like scary, gory movie like I've ever seen. Like it was like way worse than I ever thought it was going to be. And she like hung in with me on this movie. And I felt that was so sweet, because if I thought that she would leave, like it was so brutal, but like her willingness to like go on this adventure with me and do this thing with me, even though it was like outside of her comfort zone of what she wanted, I really meant a lot to me, because I really wanted to see that movie, so it's just little things like that they mean a lot to us,
Yeah. She said, love the note idea. Someone else said, love that too. So those were some really great tips. And I think as you were speaking, I was just thinking how much a man would appreciate just ideas, because some men have no idea. They kind of get stuck in a routine, and they would love to hear some things that you would like to do that's maybe a little out of the ordinary. I think men would love that as a roadmap to your happiness that you can give them, right?
Yeah, give them like a top 5, like your top 5 favorite surprising things to do. Like I literally found out on like one date that that my girlfriend loved theme parks, that she loved like haunted houses, that she was into like all this, that she's at arcades, she's at all stuff. And I'm like, this is like winning the lottery. And this was like, I had been dating her for a little while, and she told me all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like so many amazing things that I just assumed, because these are kind of typically masculine things or whatever, that she wouldn't be into them. So just the fact that she not just was okay with doing that stuff, but she was like totally down to clown with it and like loved it, it like raised her value in my eyes like a whole new level, because there was like a whole new world of experiences that were opened up for me, right? And that's something that it's so easy for relationships to fall into a trap of just doing the same stuff, dinner and a movie, go to this thing, do this thing. You do the same 3 things, just like you do the same 2 sex positions. You just get caught in these loops of doing the same stuff over and over again. And that's like traditionally where a relationship starts to become monotonous and becomes more of like a job than an active, co-creative, organic, exciting experience. So by you infusing a little mystery, infusing some playfulness, infusing some spontaneity, like just mixing it up, like not giving him everything like all at once or right away, like maybe he asks you like a really deep question, like on a first couple dates, and you're like, I'll give you a teaser about that now, but you're going to have to earn the clearance to hear the rest of that story. Just something like to hear my deep dive on that, just like playfully give him a little bit and demonstrate to him that like, you're not just going to like lay all your cards on the table on the first or second day. That's another way to do it.
I love these really specific tips that you're giving, just real life examples and tips. That is fantastic. Is there anything else you want to say on this third secret, or would you like to recap here, get to some comments, and then talk about your course
Yeah,
again?
let's recap. I think we've done it. So starting from the top, right? The first move that's so magnetic is to embrace vulnerable expression, right? Be the conductor of the emotional and communicative aspects of a relationship. Like model the level of vulnerability that you want to receive from him. Don't sit there with your walls up and complain, he's not being vulnerable. Well, yeah, because he's looking to you. He's like the guy in the orchestra holding his oboe, looking to you for guidance on how to do that, because we don't know how. You may have done it and gotten hurt before. We don't know how to do it in the first place. So like throw us a freaking bone here and just like let us know what you like, model what it is that you want. And also invite us into vulnerability by asking us questions. Ask us how we're feeling. If we come home from work and we're looking worn out, be like, hey, rough day, what happened? And then as he starts telling you what happened, ask him how he felt or how he's feeling about it. Don't just let him list off the chronology of his day's events and then go sit down on the couch and watch SportsCenter. Like, invite him into vulnerability. That's going to help him start to understand and practice putting words to his feelings and connecting with you on that level, which is going to help deepen your relationship. And then the second tip is to basically use your feminine energy to cultivate safety with him. Remember, the deepest value you can create for a man is to be his emotional sanctuary, to be the one person in his life where he doesn't always have to be on, where he doesn't always have to be the protector, the provider, the warrior, the whatever, like give him an opportunity to just feel safe with you, to be himself. And you can do that by being super present. One of the greatest things you can do is to just give him deep, meaningful eye contact, lean in, casually touch him. That was actually something that I meant to mention, like when I was going through this originally, like casual light touch while he's talking to you, especially in the early stages of getting to know somebody. When you touch a man, it's like it gets him out of his head and into his body, like immediately, because for most men, touch is our primary love language, right? So one of the ways for you to create emotional safety for a man is through physical touch. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things. And then, the other thing to remember is be careful with how you're setting boundaries and how you're inviting him to change his behavior. If you're constantly being like, you never take me out to dinner anymore, Leonard. Like if you're constantly just being that, if you're being that person, like that's not making a guy's motor run at all. Like that's going to activate his mama trauma and get him to shut down. Right. Whereas if you're like being like, I love spending time with you. I love sharing delicious meals with you. We've done that so many times. I'd really love to do more of that. We used to do that so often. It's something that activates and brings so much love into my heart for you. How about we do that? How about we set aside Friday for like an adventure, just the two of us, inviting him into with constructive compliments and invitations into behavior you want is way better than just hammering him on the behavior that you don't want. You know what I'm saying? So
Definitely.
that's that. And then the last move is just to embody playfulness, mystery, spontaneity. Like keep him curious, keep him engaged, keep him guessing a little bit about who you are, about what's a layer deeper. You know what I'm saying? A layer deeper about yourself. Because in every man, there's a play drive. We all want to play. We all want to explore. the unknown. And, like when we were kids, we'd go on quests out into the woods to explore and go into unknown boundaries. What if you were his quest? What if the next layer of who you are and how you're showing up is that wilderness that he's exploring in his own life now, and play with him, right? Be spontaneous, leave little notes on his desk about how much you turn him on, or how much you enjoyed last night, or what you're looking forward to later, or how much you appreciate this aspect of him or that aspect of him. Like something you can do to embody all these things we're talking about is to give him meaningful compliments, about not just what he's doing, but about who he is, about what you appreciate about him in terms of his character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the more you do all this stuff, the more you invite him into vulnerability, the more you cultivate safety for him, the more you interrupt the heaviness and the monotony of his life with playfulness and mystery and spontaneity, the more engaged he's going to be with you, the more curious he's going to be about getting to know you better, and the more fun he's going to have with you. And the more fun he has with you, almost certainly the deeper relationship he's going to want with you. That's how you're going to that's how you're going to get to devotion.
Yeah. Love it. Wow. This is such great information, Matt. It's so different than anything else I have here on my podcast. So I'm so thrilled you wanted to talk about this today. Do you want to talk one more time about your Mastery of Connection completely free course that's starting very soon on February 17th? Again, if you're watching live on YouTube, click the title of this video. You may have to close the live chat. That'll open up the description. That'll be the first link in there. If you're listening on my podcast, that will be the first link in the show notes. Number one freak offer or course I recommend, and I've never changed my stance on that in over 5 years. So please tell everyone about that, because I'm so excited to share it with my community.
Absolutely. So this is my transformational flagship love course. It normally costs $2,000, but I'm doing it as a beta launch. So basically, in exchange for your feedback and testimonials, you get to take my $2,000 course absolutely free. And it's a 3-week transformational live journey to basically help you transform your relationships from the inside out. And we're going to be diving into all the different layers of how you connect with other people. By the way, it starts February 17th, right? So it starts, in about a month from now, and from when we're recording this. So basically, we're going to be diving through the different layers of how you connect and relate to other people. So we're going to be identifying and helping you shift your beliefs around who you are, about how you relate to other people, because your beliefs are the core of all the patterns that you've been engaging in consciously and unconsciously in your relationship. So when you identify and change your beliefs, you identify and change your relationship patterns fundamentally from the source, right? Don't try to change the behavior, because if you try to change the behavior without changing the belief underneath it, it's not going to stick. I promise. Right. And so we're going to be doing belief work, and then we're going to be doing attachment style and personality type work, where we're going to help you look at how your unique attachment style and your unique personality type, which is a framework that I've been teaching for a lot of years, how they define how you communicate with others and what you value from others in terms of relationship. And once you're aware of that, you can start to shift your attachment style, and you can start to embody and create healthier relationship dynamics with people in your life. You can talk to them in a way that they can understand, and you stop taking personally maybe the way that they talk to you that doesn't land with you. So it's really, 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 really helpful, right? And then the third week, we're going to be going into how to connect with and relate to men in a deeper way. So this is all about how to be irresistible and magnetic to men, what men want, what men need, understanding men. It's going to be really like a bunch of live workshops, right? And so you're going to be getting 15 video lessons to help teach all this stuff to you. And then there's going to be over 50 hours of live coaching workshops, like over the course of these 3 weeks. So there's going to be 3 sessions a week, 3 live coaching sessions a week, the first 2 weeks, and a breathwork session on Saturday of the first week. It's going to help you be releasing all your negative beliefs. Then in the 3rd week, I'm going to be doing daily live workshops with you where you can get coaching and everything else. So you can ask live coaching questions on any of these live workshops and get the support you need, plus be in a community where you can get live support from me and my coaching team on Facebook. So it's like a huge value. It's a crazy transformational experience. And we've had tens of thousands of women have incredible results by doing this program with us. And again, it's absolutely free. You have nothing to lose. And we'd love to have you and just get to witness your growth and transformation over the course of
Yeah,
this process.
absolutely. Yes, somebody says, wow. Exactly. Matt is just the king of over delivering. And if you can't make those live workshops, I'm sure if you're signed up for the course, you'll get access to the replays. I know it's a lot of live coaching that you do there. And if people are listening after February 17th, which may be the case, especially on my podcast, should they still sign up in case you do another one sometime down the road?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just know if it's after February 17th, you'll either be put into the live launch if it's during the 3 weeks that the course is going afterwards, or if it's after, say, March 11th, you'll be put on a wait list for, if we do another course launch, you'll get put in a wait list for that next course or for whatever my next offering is as a relationship coach. So you'll be getting hooked up one way or the other.
Yes. If anyone's having trouble finding the link, I know that happens sometimes. Just email me, helenahartcoaching@gmail.com. I'll get that to you right away. And I think we answered most of these questions during the live stream itself. I just wanted to check on everything here just to make sure we didn't miss any. Hello, everyone's so sweet. We have a lot of live viewers today. So I'm so happy we just kind of decided to do this last minute. Here's one from Suze. What a good change of look for Matt. I've been MIA. Helena, if I recall correctly, you were living in California, all good with the fires. Yeah, we've been very, very lucky. We had two that popped up very, very close to us. We could see the smoke in our backyard, but they were contained within a few hours. So other than just the anxiety and the air quality, we've been super, super lucky. Just my heart goes out to all who've been affected by that. I think we've been doing a fundraiser for that sometime soon, somewhere on one of my platforms. But yeah, wow. I'd love to hear from anyone who has been affected by that. Jessica says, hello. I think I am I think we've done all the questions already. Somebody said listening is a great tip. I find I'm a bit nervous and doing all the talking about my passions. Yeah, that's what we talked about kind of at the beginning of this episode. We can connect from mind to mind a lot. You want to create this mental connection, but the deep emotional connection isn't created that way by having things in common and stuff like that. So you talked a lot about that, I think in the first or second tip, Matt. Is there anything else you want to say there?
Yeah, well, it makes me think of that video that we did way back in the day. Gosh, it must have been 2020, where I was talking about how love is like bread.
Yes.
And we had the thumbnail was me holding the bread, you
yeah,
know?
2019. I think that was
2019.
Like
back when dinosaurs roamed the earth pre-COVID. And I basically took like love as like the recipe for making bread. And one of the things, like you had to apply heat, right? Like passion. And then you had to give it space. Because bread can only rise if there's space, right? Similarly, connection can only be formed and polarity can only be formed in space. So if you're doing all the talking, there's no space, right? For him to show up, for him to express, for him to put his walls down. So be willing to ask good questions that invite him to talk, and then genuinely demonstrate interest in what it is that he's saying, and even ask him follow-up questions off of what he says. Because if you don't do that, he's going to feel like you're just waiting for your turn to talk, which, I'm sure as women, right? That's exhausting. It's exhausting when you can tell a dude is just checked out and waiting for a turn to talk about himself. You know what I'm saying? So Wisteria says, I'm in my head too much and my heart is a bit closed. Yeah, up until now, Wisteria, up until now, right? Let's draw a line in the sand on that. You can change that today. You can start to change that today. And you always, a great check-in for yourself when you're on a date is to just ask yourself, like, because we have a tendency to get in our head because we're nervous or we want the guy to like us, blah, blah, blah. Ask yourself, would my friends or family or someone close to me, whatever, pick whoever it is, my freaking dog, would they recognize me right now? Would they recognize how I'm showing up? Would they recognize how I'm responding to what this guy's saying? Or would I be unrecognizable to the people who love and know me the best? If you're being someone else, just as you think that's who he wants you to be, you're sabotaging your potential relationship with him,
Yeah. She says, I start talking about Bitcoin and scare them away. She says, I'll listen to this again. Missed the first part. Actually want to take some notes. Thank you both. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences here, everyone. And I think that was all the questions and comments. There's so many that came through. I hope I got to all of them. If I missed it, put them in the comments section after the replay of this post. We'll try to get to as many as we can. And any last words of wisdom on this topic, Matt, before we close out?
Yeah, I just want to end with an emphatic statement that no matter how much has transpired for you in your relationship history. No matter how many times you've been hurt, no matter how many times you've been heartbroken, no matter how many times men have let you down, no matter how deep your stories are, that all men are trash, or that there's no good men out there, or that men only want sex or whatever, I promise you, you are worthy of meaningful, loving, significant, fulfilling relationship. Fundamentally, no matter how many men have told you otherwise, going all the way back to your dad. That's the first and foremost thing. You are worthy of love because of who you are and because you exist, not because of what you've done, not because of how you look, not because of any of that stuff. Because you exist, you are worthy of love. Secondly, there are good men out there. There are good men out there that are good for you. They may not be good for other people, but they are perfect fits and they're in perfect alignment for you. But they're not going to be able to find you unless you have the courage to allow yourself to be seen. And unless you have the courage to allow yourself to be connected with. And that's why relationship gets scary, right? Because we have to put ourselves out there, even though we've been hurt before. We have to allow ourselves to connect with men, even though they betrayed us before. But what makes love so beautiful is the vulnerability and the fragility of it. Like, it is fundamentally a risk from both people. You know what I'm saying? So just don't allow the things that have happened before to allow you to disqualify yourself from the love that truly is waiting for you. Because as you transform your relationship with yourself, you love yourself, you decide that you're worthy of love, and you courageously put yourself out there as a reflection and embodiment of that, you're allowing love to find you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way I do this work. And that's the way I run my course. And, at the end of the day, you will be empowered to put yourself out there in a meaningful way by the end of working with us if you come along for our course.
Amazing. That sounds so great. By the way, I'm going to add that link to the comment section if you're watching on YouTube and pin it to the top as soon as we're done streaming live here, so it's easy to find. If you're listening to my podcast, that'll be the first link in the show notes. Again, you can always email me if you're having trouble finding any of the links I talk about here. This was amazing. We kept it to under an hour, which is so good for us. We usually tend to go on and on. So thank you so much. This is great. I'd love to bring you back in a couple of weeks if you're available, if you want to talk about really anything. I always love everything you share here on my podcast and YouTube channel. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you're following my podcast. I have new episodes coming out every week on Spotify and Apple. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll include links to that in the description below. It's called Master Your Magnetism. The last episode I posted was with Matt, and it's going to quickly rise to probably the #1 episode of all time on there. I always love having you on. Love everything you share. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thanks so much, Helena. I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.